Okay, conference. I think they always. It's just a short straw when you start to move constitutional amendments, because obviously you rely on everybody having read the Constitution and knowing it back to front. So you will all know that constitutional amendment that we're proposing is number 53. I'm sure you know exactly what page that's on, what that says originally. But this actually reflects back to some of the debates that have been taking place in the National Council over the last year. For the last few years, Respect has elected a National Council by the slate system. That was a system where there would be 50 names presented to conference. There could be an alternative slate put up from there, but the notion was that that was a good way of getting balance from across the country, a gender balance, a balance that draws on people from ethnic minority communities, etc. But there was some unease at the slate system, and people wanted to move on, and there was a discussion at the National Committee, and that national discussion suggested that, first of all, that we should move towards an eSTV system, so a single transferable vote, the most sort of up-to-date system that the Electoral Reform Commission are proposing. So the first part of Amendment 53 is that the National Committee should now be elected at the annual conference by an STV, a single transferable vote system for all delegates, in which all delegates can take part in. That's the first part. Probably that's not that controversial. There's a second part which directly relates to some of the debates, in the nicest possible way, that have taken place over the last 3 months. One of the arguments, which when I saw Newsnight last night, they seem to have dropped suddenly, but for some people in a different place, really, what they demanded was a national organiser. And at the National Committee, the last National Committee that took place, there was a vote which was passed unanimously by everybody on that National Committee that said that we would have a national organiser for Respect nationally, so that we would then have a national organiser who would be part of the National Officers Group, alongside the Chair, alongside the National Secretary, alongside other national officers, that they would meet on a weekly basis, they would be reporting back to the National Council, and obviously at the end of the day they would report back to annual conference. As I said, the last National Committee, that was passed unanimously. That National Committee took place what we all expected to be a day before, or perhaps 2 days before, the announcement of a general election. And and therefore there was some pressure that that position would be filled as soon as possible if the circumstances fell through and there was an election within a 3-week period. Of course, the following day, Gordon Brown announced that there would be no election, and therefore the pressure to appoint a national officer receded somewhat. At the National Officers meeting the next night, there was no discussion at all about the national officer, and the following week, John Rees circulated to the National Committee members the suggestion that, following on from how it's organised at the Stop the War Coalition, that actually, as well as a National Committee that is elected from conference, there should be 3 specific posts that are directly elected by conference on an annual basis, and that those people who occupy those posts are therefore directly accountable to conference. And those 3 posts that we are suggesting follow through with that are the National Chair, the National Secretary and the National Organiser. And therefore, when you vote for this, or if you vote for this today, you will be voting for those things together. You will be voting for a National Committee elected by single transferable vote, and you will also be voting that you agree that we move forward to an annual election at the conference for those 3 posts: National Organiser, National Secretary and the Chair of Respect. Given that explanation, I put it to conference and hope that you'll vote for it. Thank you.